everybody. This is Gradius Rebirth, as you can probably tell. I know here's my settings again. This is all default, aside from screen adjustment and button config, but don't worry about that. And I'm going to be doing this in game start mode. It's because so technically this game is supposed to be in 4:3, but I play it with a, this is the aspect ratio that I use for it, so it'll make more sense when you'll actually see me get into the game. So let's get started in 3, 2, 1, go. So I will be using type D for this run, and just for the sake of it, we'll go ahead and watch this opening cutscene, even though I can't skip it. The lore to this game is very, very important. I actually never thought about this. Planet Gradius is technically not planet Earth, so why does it have a north and south pole? So, for those who are curious, this game kind of plays into the MSX games in terms of its storyline, hence all the references to Dr. Venom. Gaudy here, the computer, is actually the same computer that's used in Gopher no Yabu Episode 2 or Nemesis 3 on the MSX. And that's Dr. Venom, the Director General of the Gradius Space Science Agency. Is game audio low? Because I can turn it up. Unless you're just referring to the audio as a whole. Okay, so it was just the stream as a whole. We'll be seeing more of Dr. Venom later. And in case you're wondering, that pilot is James Burton. He is the... If you saw my Nemesis 2 run from last month, from a Shemuptember 2 months ago, actually, it's the same pilot. That's the Vic Viper, not the Battalion. Alright. So there we go. Let's actually get started on the game.
Destroy them all.
So, real quickly, I'm playing with type D. This type is only unlockable after you complete the game with either types A, B, or C. That's also the reason this music is playing. This is A Journey to the Start from Nemesis 2 on the MSX. But modernized using the Gradius 2 and 3 sound font. I'll get kind of more into all the inspiration for this game in just a second. But this song is actually only present on the updated release of the game, because yes, this game did eventually get an updated release, which was actually the first one I downloaded, so I don't have to worry about that.
Laser.
And as you can see, the Battalion has the, it's basically, its weapon loadout is based on the one from Nemesis 2 on the MSX. It has the napalm missile, which is basically a combination of the regular missile and a spread bomb and the up laser. Those two hatches are important. If you destroy the gray one first and then the red one second, everything here turns into volcanoes. And I'm going to be doing that to get a little bit of score in this first stage. This is a pretty risky strat to incorporate, but for this stage it's not that bad. If you don't leave either of them alone, if you leave both of them alone, the stage just goes on as normal. And if you destroy the red one first and then the gray one second, then you get a snowy field. And you'll see how those changes affect the stage as I go through the game. So this is going to be a 3-loop clear attempt. This is basically a full playthrough on regular game mode. Score attack goes on for infinity, but game start mode limits you to only 3 loops. So this is basically just going through the game in its entirety, and I'm playing again on all default settings. So we got a volcano sub-boss here, and here you can see the power of the level 2 up laser, because weapons can also be double upgraded in this game. The napalm missile travels faster, and the up laser extends outwards a lot farther. Also, with type D, you'll notice I only have 2 options, and the option slot on the power meter is already empty. You can only have up to 2 options with type D. It's the only type in this game that behaves that way, but it's really not that big a deal. Alright. Yeah, Up Laser is really, really overpowered. Here's Big Core. Big Core is Big Core. You don't really need me to say anything about it. So, how do I describe this game to anybody who's never seen it before? This game... So, it's funny that this marathon is technically supposed to be a retro one. This game came out in 2008. So, it's only 15 years old, and that's not exactly retro. But basically, this game... How I would describe this game is take the MSX games, the Gradius 2 NES, Gradius 3, and the Game Boy games, put them all into a blender and hit liquefy. And something I just did there is that when you go over from shield to speed up on the power-up meter without selecting shield, you get 1,000 points for collecting the power-up capsule instead of the standard 100. So I'll be doing that every so often. Yeah, this game mostly ties into the MSX game, but it does take a heavy amount of inspiration from other games as well. And structurally, it's very similar to Nemesis on the Game Boy. So here we have the Cell stage with Moonspin, the final stage theme from Nemesis 2. These cell walls are interesting because as you shoot them, not only do they regrow, but they also grow out even further than they used to. So you can actually use them to get quite a bit amount of score from them, but it's pretty risky to go for. Yeah, all of the music in this game is from previous games in the series, mostly the MSX titles, but occasionally some other games are thrown in there. Like Gradius 2 on the NES or Gradius the Interstellar Assault, which is a Game Boy title. So above me there, that little corridor there is an entrance to a bonus stage. I won't be taking the bonus stages on Loop 1 because I want to show off the bosses, but I will be taking them on Loops 2 and 3, and I'll get more into what the bonus stages are when we actually get to them. Okay, what else needs to kind of be addressed here? This game is very, very short, by the way. It's only 5 stages long. It's, again, same as Nemesis for the Game Boy. This section's kind of interesting. This section's basically straight from Nemesis 3 Stage 8, where you have these little things you're supposed to go through, and you have these cells coming at you from behind. Every single cell gives you a power-up capsule, so it can be difficult to use them to power up, but you can also get an insane amount of score from here. Of course, you also have to be careful since they're coming from behind, and the Battalion doesn't really have a good way of getting things coming from behind. Nice. That's pretty good. And similar to the original Gradius, almost every boss has a sub-boss before it. So in the first stage it was the Volcano, and here it's the classic Zub Rush. Okay, not too bad. And now we have the boss, which is Crawler X. This is sort of a revamped version of the Crawler boss from Nemesis for the Game Boy, and it uses Fighter Blood, which is the boss theme from Nemesis 3 on the MSX. This is another song that's new to the updated version of the game. And every single one of those eyeballs it shoots out fires suicide bullets, so fun. And I killed it right before it does an attack that moves the terrain with it, so pretty good timing there. The attack where it makes the terrain kind of bounce can be a little bit tricky. So yeah, hope you enjoyed that boss because that's the only time you're going to see it in this run. We've got 3 speed-ups here. So, this game thankfully does allow you to have a little bit of control over your speed level. Because once you reach max speed, similar to like Gradius 5 and Gradius 3 SNES, it does actually let you go back to the initial speed. Which is nice in case you need to do that. No, I'll be taking the bonus stages on future loops, which means you won't get to see the boss. So here's the Moai stage, because, you know, every Gradius game needs a Moai stage. Except Gradius 5, but, you know, we'll let that one slide. My main strategy here is just kill as many Moais as possible. I'm going to be trying to, aside from not taking the bonus stages in Loop 1, I'm going to be trying to do everything I can to get a bunch of lives, and that usually is just going to mean going out of my way to score a bunch, because I want as many lives as possible going into Loop 3. But again, I'll get to that when I actually get to reach that point. I don't have a route for this stage, so it's basically me just bubbling about and just trying to grab as many moais as I can. I'll buy all the 7 coins there. This game does not have coins of any kind. And yes, there's a 5,000 point bonus there. So if you notice, if you pay very, very close attention there, that moai's eyes kind of glow when it's destroyed, but it's really, really hard to see. And in the original release of this game, that visual cue was not there at all, so you just had to know where that 5,000 point bonus was. But obviously, again, it's really hard to see, so I mostly just kind of memorize where its location is roughly in the level and what visual indicators I can use to tell that it's coming up. And now I have spinning moais, which are just spinning moais. They don't really do much. To get, though. The up laser is good at clearing out a huge horde of things above you, but it's not very good at hitting, like, precise targets or working in tight spaces. At least in its level 2 state. In level 1, it's a little bit better, but level 2 is far more efficient. And sub-boss here is a bunch of floating moais. It speaks for itself. Okay, so this is a really cool boss. This is new to this game and not really based on anything. This is the Moai Orb, and it features the Tiki statues from Nemesis 2. So first it does this laser attack, and then it kind of bounces around the arena, and every time it bounces it creates a lightning bolt, and a Moai spawns from it. It's a pretty simple fight, honestly. You can one-cycle it if you do enough damage to it early on, but that's really hard to do. And it seems to stay in that, like, vulnerable phase for a random amount of time. But yeah, if you pay close attention, as I do more damage to the orb, the Moai head in the background becomes more and more cracked. And as it dies, it makes the same noise Intruder makes when it dies in Gradius 2. And also this game, speaking of which, this game also borrows sound effects from basically all of its sound effects are borrowed from previous games. So, a lot from the MSX games as well. Like, you might not believe it, but like the shot and laser sound effects and the powering up sound effect are all from Nemesis 2 on the MSX. Which honestly kind of blew my mind the first time I figured that out. Finally going to activate the shield, because this stage for this stage I kind of need it. This is just the standard shield, it only protects you from the front, which is kind of bad, but, you know, having any protection at all helps. Here's stage 4, this is kind of the fossil stage, or graveyard stage. If you've played Gradius on the PC Engine, this stage will probably seem very familiar to you. Because you have these skeletons that rip apart as you shoot at them, and we'll have some floating skull heads later on. It actually can be pretty dangerous to have all these bones flying about, and with this type, you're basically guaranteed to break some of them as long as you're shooting. So, gotta be careful. here's another new enemy. We got dragons that come out of the sand here. And that sound effect is when Hydra dies in Salamander 2. Also, I just want to point out that this game is experiencing lag. This is a Wii game from 2008. I get it, no game is perfect, but still, it seems a little excessive. And then this section, by the way, in the entrance to that skull there, that mouth is another bonus stage. But again, I'm not going to take the bonus stage on this loop so you can see the boss. Here I just have a giant rush of dragons. Sub-boss here is just a bunch of those floating skull heads, and if you want an easy way to get past it, just hide here. It's basically, again, the same thing as Gradius on the PC Engine. So you'll never guess what the boss for this stage is. It's another big core. Yeah, not really a whole lot to say about that. Oh, wait, just kidding. There's actually more to it than just a regular big core fight. This is actually the big core duo. And when it comes back for the second phase, it's a little bit harder. Yeah, as you can tell, that fight can be pretty stressful, so that's the main reason why I'm going to try to opt not to fight it on higher loops. That, we are now off to the final stage. Like I said, this game is, a single loop of this game is relatively short. So now we're coming up on the planet Antiphicon, or however the heck you pronounce it. For this stage, I'm actually going to be using the double for a little bit. This type just uses the standard 45-degree shot double. And level 2 just makes it go faster, which is kind of a bummer. It's not like Gaiden where it adds a third shot going behind you. So yeah, final stage is just your standard base stage. We've got Cosmic Heroes from Nemesis 3 on the MSX. This is the third song that's new to this, to the updated release of the game. I'm using the double here, by the way, because the up laser at level 2 has a hard time hitting some of those hatches in those tight spots. I don't really like that a blue capsule spawned there, because that means one's not going to appear in the next section. This section, it's not as bad on loop 1, but on higher loops, it's definitely one of the hardest parts of the game, because you have a lot of cannons and not a whole lot of room to move, and they're all firing at you. Yeah, in Gradius Gaiden, if you didn't see my run at Shmup Timber, I used the double more often than I used the laser with the Big Viper. So the boss in this... So here's another sub-boss. This is Enigma, which actually originated from the MSX port of Salamander. Basically just a giant wall for cores that are stuck together that move up and down. In the original version of this fight, you only had to destroy like a certain colored core, in order to open up the final one. In this version, you have to destroy every single one of these cores. And yeah, every so often it rams you, so you have to be ready for that. This fight can definitely be difficult if you haven't practiced it a whole lot. Once you destroy that core, this final core opens up, and you can actually destroy it proper. And you finally get access to the second part of the level. Now I have Departure again, which is from the bad ending theme from the MSX port of Salamander. And this final section is actually kind of tricky as well, because those jumpers are annoying, and you have these laser cannons, some of which are really, really hard to hit. And they only fire lasers if your ship is in their line of fire. And again, with this type, the battalion doesn't really have a good way of hitting targets behind it, and the shield doesn't protect it from behind. So, not exactly the easiest section. But, there we go. This is, I guess, this game's variant on, like, the pre-final boss obstacle. It's just a bunch of electric beams that move together, but they never touch the very bottom of the stage. So you can just hide out here, and with this type, your level 2 up lasers actually go through the things and can hit the duckers from above, and the duckers from behind don't really stand a chance. So, yeah, this section's super free. No need to memorize the pattern that these things use. That's it for that. This sound effect's from the final stage of Gradius 3 Arcade, as are most of the voiceovers in this game. And here's the final boss. Again, like with every Gradius game, it's the hardest fight in the game. And those option hunters don't go away until they take all your options, but not like it means anything. And there you go, that's literally the game. And like I said, a single loop of it does not take very long. This song is actually an unused song from the original Gradius, so very nice that they remastered it for this game. Let's go ahead and watch this intermission cutscene, even though this one doesn't really have a whole lot to offer. So I guess the separate loops are different deployments. Yeah, don't ask me. So here we are, loop 2 time. So higher loops come with the usual higher rank, and now enemies fire suicide bullets. So the way suicide bullets are generated in this game is actually kind of funny. If you're playing on normal difficulty, it's always the number of suicide bullets that will appear, assuming that an enemy does fire them, is always the loop number -1. And emphasis on always, because yes, that means enemies can fire triple digits worth of suicide bullets. But as you also just saw here, if you point blank an enemy that fires suicide bullets, the bullets are forced to fly away from you. So that's a pretty neat strategy to use. And another thing about higher loops is that the stage layouts for stages 1 through 4 actually change. And this time I'm going to destroy the red hatch first, which means we'll be seeing the snowy theme, because the volcanoes can be pretty dangerous to deal with along with all the other high rank stuff. By the way, this is Heavy Blow, which originated from Gradius 2 NES. I've shouted out Laser Trap Productions a handful of times on this stream. They have a piano cover of this song on their channel as well. So, just gonna plug that. So this variant of Stage 1 actually has the least number of power-up capsules, which is kind of odd. So it's actually kind of hard to reach full power in this stage. But we managed to get all the way there. And instead of the volcanoes, when you use the snow theme, you get the Iron Maidens, which are the things that track the terrain in a circle and then try to charge at you. They're very easy, and there's a safe spot that trivializes them. And then here's Big Core again. This time it's barriers fire spread shots, in addition to a random suicide bullet that pops out every now and then. I think I played that a little too risky, but we're alive. Thank you, Pame. I don't know how to pronounce that. So, I mentioned the difficulty settings earlier, so there's actually a very interesting way in which this game handles difficulty settings. So I believe, I haven't tested it in a while, but if you're playing on very easy or easy, you're only allowed to play loop 1. And in addition, on very easy, enemies don't fire regular bullets at all. On easy, their regular enemy bullets can be destroyed. Normal is what I'm playing on now. Hard starts the player on loop 2 difficulty, including the different stage layouts, and very hard starts the player on loop 3 difficulty. So, pretty interesting way in which this game actually does the whole difficulty thing. And score attack mode actually has different leaderboards for the different difficulties, but all other settings are forced to their defaults. This variant of Stage 2 doesn't really have a whole lot of walls for you to shoot out until here. It's a lot easier to get the walls coming from above because of the up laser's ability to just pierce through everything. Like I said, the more I let the walls grow, the more dangerous it is to farm from them. And try to guess where this entrance to the next bonus stage is. You'll never be able to figure it out. Yeah, it's right there. So the bonus stages are based on the bonus stages from the MSX port of the original Gradius, hence the music. And there are two types of special capsules here. You have the yellow capsules, which can give you points up to 1,000 unless a capsule scrolls off left side of the screen, and then it resets to 100. And then you also have green capsules that give you 1-ups. These stages are a very good place to go in score attack runs, because you can get quite a lot of score from them. And a big chunk of lives, and that's the main reason I'm taking them in this run, is so I can build up as many lives as I can. Also, unlike like Gradius 3 SNES, which also has these types of bonus stages, if you die in a bonus stage, you're automatically sent to the next stage, so entering them is also a free pass to the next stage. So that's another reason why I'll be taking them. And some of the yellow capsules are continuous. They last, you can collect them up to 8 times before they expire. But they're usually in, like, dead ends or something, so you kind of have to be careful with them. For example, here's one. So for this bonus stage, I actually think if you went full out in the main stage instead of taking the bonus stage, you could get about as much score, but again, I'm mainly taking it for the free pass to the next stage and to get more lives. Because those lives are going to matter when I get to Loop 3. The pre-stage portions, the pre-stage enemy layouts are not changed between loops, it's the stages themselves mainly. I'll activate the shield. This is a marathon, I'll take the safety precaution. Again, Y stage, we have another changed layout. My goal is basically going to be the same as before, try to get as many more as I can. And again, I don't have a route here, so I'm just going to be kind of bumbling around. So you can probably tell why the napalm missile is so good with this type. Because with the regular spread bomb, you have to kind of consider the arc that it travels on. The napalm missile has the same splash damage as the spread bomb, but it travels along the ground until it hits something, which makes it a lot easier to hit certain targets with. Let's not get too carried away here, because I just lost my shield. And this variant of Stage 3, as far as I'm aware, does not have a 5,000 point bonus anywhere, so don't have to worry about finding one of those. They'll still have a field of rotating Moais at the end. This section, I think the types of Moais, there are changes between loops, but otherwise it's basically just the same thing. Sub-boss again, it's just going to be those floating Moais again. I don't know if Cheerios is an accurate name for the rings. I always refer to them as just ion rings. Cheerios aren't usually colored blue or bright pink. Unless there is a brand of Cheerios that behaves like that. Did the stream just go offline? For anybody? Must have been my end. Oh, okay, it's back. Anyways, Moai Orb. Basically just the same thing as before. So yeah, that's an example of how fast that boss can die. Provided it does that bouncing attack long enough. So I'm gonna quickly touch on this pre-stage here, because it's not so bad on Loop 2, but these waves of enemies right here are complete jerks. Because, as you can see, they come from behind, they usually fire at you before you get the chance to destroy them, and again, with the Metallion, you don't really get protection from behind or the ability to really fire from behind. So, these enemies can be kind of annoying. And also, you have to deal with suicide bullets. So, it's kind of a darned if you do, darned if you don't when it comes to destroying them. Right, back to stage 4, we have another layout change here. And the bones are going to start flying out just a little bit faster. I'm actually going to hold off on collecting additional power capsules. Yeah, refresh my shield there. Okay, this is going to be kind of sketchy. Okay. There's a 5,000 point bonus in here. As far as I'm concerned, that's the only place there's a 5,000 point bonus in the entirety of Loop 2. This stage is a very easy stage to mess up on in higher loops. Because the bones are really dangerous and there's usually a lot of bullets you have to contend with as well. And those hatches, if their enemies are allowed to get released, they are very, very annoying. So, again, the updated release of this game has a visual indicator to let you know where the bonus stage is, but if you are playing on the original version, you have no way of knowing where this is. So yeah, see that little pink spot on the ground? There you go. So here's the second bonus stage. This one is a little bit harder to get a good score in than the first one. A lot of the capsules are in very inconvenient places. And there's a lot of really weird corridors to navigate around. This section right here is really tough to get right. Because you have the potential to get 9 additional capsules, but it's really, really hard to do so quickly enough. Nice. That's really tough to do. Ah, dang it. Oh well, but that, again, that just takes me to the next level, so not a huge deal. Again, recovering here isn't too bad because, like I said, if you point blank enemies, their suicide bullets are forced to go away from you. I was basically at the end of that bonus stage anyways, so you know, I probably lost like maybe 10,000 points there, but it certainly wasn't any. Stage 5's layout doesn't change between loops, it's always the same. Section again. Like I said, this section can get kind of dicey with the amount of additional bullets there are on higher loops. Blue capsules are very much your friend here. Alright, there I held my fire so that I wouldn't have to deal with those Zubs. Okay, so this is a really dumb decision, but I'm actually going to try to take Enigma on... there is a safe spot to Enigma that you'll see me use later, but I'm going to try taking it on the regular way. Enigma is basically the same, but now all of its barriers fire spread shots. Which actually just means it's just a little bit more dodging to do. Close calls like that tend to happen sometimes on this fight. I'm gonna show this off even though I don't need to. This is another way you can survive the ram attack. If you point blank the cannons, they just don't fire at you. I don't know if that was intentional, but it can save your life in certain situations. Wasn't sure if I'd be able to destroy that in time. We made it though. Now the question is, do I want the up laser level 2 or the shield first? I think I'm gonna go for the shield. Technically, the up laser level 2 isn't gonna be super useful until I get to the electricity thing section. Like I said, this section sucks. That ducker almost killed me. And once you get to this point on any loop, clear is basically guaranteed, because although the patterns of these electric beam things do change, they still never touch the bottom, and the duckers never fire suicide bullets. So, yeah, again, getting here on any loop is basically a guaranteed win. The million-point threshold. If you're good at multi-looping this game, it's usually not too bad to try to go for 1,000,000 points. Okay, so second loop was cleared with only 1 death, so not too bad overall. And the final boss is obviously the same as always. Another sound clip from Salamander 2. Alright. I'm gonna skip the credits cutscene, but this cutscene's pretty fun. This cutscene's kind of funny. epic fourth wall break. Extremely meta. Okay, time for loop 3, and this is where the game gets really hard. So expect there to be quite a bit of spaghetti here, because now enemies fire 2 suicide bullets at a time, and they move a lot faster. And again, the rank is just overall a lot higher, and stage layouts change on you once more. So again, in the regular game mode, the game ends after 3 loops. Score attack mode goes on indefinitely, but I believe the loop counter does max out at some point. Right. So this variant of Stage 1 actually has the most power-up capsules, which is kind of weird. And it also kind of seems to mimic Stage 4 from the original Gradius, in that it's kind of the original version of this. It's not the exact same layout as the Loop 1 layout, but upside down, but it has a lot in common with it. Because again, you have that split in half volcano with the 5,000 point bonus. Right. I have to be really careful with hatches. Because when they release enemies, it's just basically just a hailstorm of bullets. And then here's this rock that doesn't appear in any other variation of this stage. That 5,000 point bonus is actually pretty hard to get. You have to be, like, really, really close to the rock. Alright, that jumper needs to go away. There we go. We got the Iron Maidens again. Okay, time for yet another big core fight. Destroy the core. Oh yeah, something I haven't yet mentioned that is kind of weird. So, your vertical range of movement in Stage 1 is restricted. Like, notice how I can't go all the way up to the top of the screen here. But it's not in any other stage. Notice how after this boss blows up, I can now go all the way to the top of the screen. That was likely to allow you to brush up against the top of the stage in Stage 1 like you can in the original Gradius. So, that's pretty weird. Yeah, I can go all the way down to the bottom as well. Okay. The Loop 3 variant of Stage 2 is not an easy thing by any chance, or by any means. Intentionally get rid of my shield there so that it doesn't get caught on those cell walls. Those opening cell walls can be very dangerous to get through. And once again, I'm going to be taking the bonus stage once I get to it in order to skip the rest of the stage. I first have to get past these Yeah, okay. I probably would have died at this checkpoint anyways, so I don't really care about that. Okay, I think I probably missed my chance to get in here. Oh, never mind. So yeah, that is a pretty tight window to hit. It's always helpful to count how many of those you have left. That That cannon is super scary. It always fires suicide bullets. Or almost always does. As far as I'm concerned, whether or not an enemy fires suicide bullets is basically random. And here's where the up laser really, really shines. So here, taking the bottom is actually technically more optimal for score because there's a continuous capsule there. But it's really hard to get to with this type, so I just take the top path. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright. There we go. So now I have even more lives, which is always helpful. So those are mothers. Those are also from the original Gradius, and they still fire the small blue orbs, which are known as children. Those things are very fast on high loops if they get to shoot the children out, and the children block your shots, so I want to make sure I destroy the mothers as quickly as possible. Moai stage, again, layout has changed on you, and the Moais fire a lot more rings now. That's not the only significant thing about this variant of Loot 3. You'll probably see it here in just a little bit. But, remember those spinning Moais that are normally present at the end of the stage? Yeah, they're now just here in the regular part of the stage. It doesn't really make it a whole lot more difficult, but it's a thing. Right. That is not that great, but I can work with it. I was probably a little bit too greedy there. So, like, maybe I'd say probably up to about maybe 5 years ago, this is probably where most runs would have ended for me. This stage is kind of tricky. And recovering at this checkpoint is not always fun. It is doable. I'm bad, but we can make it work. Like I said, this is why I wanted to bring in as many lives to Loot 3 as possible, because something like this is basically bound to happen. One other kind of annoying thing about Loot 3 is that everything is moving so fast, you basically need 3 speed-ups at all times. I probably could have survived that, but I just got a little too far ahead of myself. Don't think for a second that this is the hardest part of the run. No, this is far from it. I should not have backed up there. That is horrible. The fact that I got a blue capsule there. Because that just means I have to put off getting more speed-ups. I had the napalm missile, I probably could have survived that. I'm just gonna go ahead and activate the napalm right away. I don't really care if I have anything highlighted or not. Let me get something highlighted there. I need splash damage. I almost had that. When in doubt, use vertical screen scrolling to your advantage. That was a terrible idea. I just keep getting too far ahead of myself. I know that's a terrible excuse, but I probably should have practiced recovering at this checkpoint because I didn't think I'd need to. So I'm gonna have to work a little magic here in order to pull this off. This, I think, is the best attempt I've had so far. Now I have the up laser. Alright. I think I've made it to the next checkpoint. And I wanted to activate another option, not up laser level 2. That's fine, though. Okay, that took a few more lives than I would have liked, but at least I'm out of there now. And from there, the rest of the stages shouldn't be too bad, as long as I don't do anything horribly stupid, which I probably will. There we go. Let's just hold on to this, because I'm probably going to want the shield once I start the next stage. Yeah, for this sub-boss fight, when the Moais are going counterclockwise, which always happens on the second and fourth sets, they tend to fire a lot more rings, and that can really trip you up on the later lives when it's even more rings than before. Okay. We might have a chance. But we're not even close to the hard parts of this loop. be almost dead, though. And now we get to the worst checkpoint of Loop 3, in my opinion. Actually, no, second worst. It's either second worst or third worst, but either way, it's bad. Because remember all those problems I talked about in Loop 2 with this checkpoint? They're even worse here. I'm actually going to go up to 4 speed-ups here because I don't trust myself. Yeah, like, I have the shield right now, but trust me, it ain't gonna do shit. Sorry, I probably shouldn't have said that, but yeah, it's that bad. Especially right here. Okay, I lucked out hard there. Okay. So, the bonus stage entrance for this stage is a little bit different than all the other ones, because it's right at the start of the level. It's just right there. Okay, I made it. If you die on that checkpoint, you are actually able to enter the bonus stage, so thankfully I was able to do that, because again, now this is basically just a free pass to the next level. And this gives me the opportunity to make up a couple of lives that I missed out on in the previous stage. That's the entirety of that bonus stage. Alright. I actually made it through that stage without dying. I have never done that before. Even when taking the bonus stage. That's actually really, really good, because that, again, increases my likelihood of not immediately failing in this stage. Because this is where things get this is basically what the run comes down to, is whether or not I can get through here without something absolutely disastrous happening. And again, the final stage layout doesn't change on higher loops, so nothing new to see here. Alright. This is the big boy part right here. So far, so good. That went pretty smoothly, even though I didn't get a blue capsule. Okay, so remember how I said Enigma has a safe spot? Well, here it is. Yeah, you just sit here. So I basically have to put my controller down now, because once you enter this safe spot, you are committed to it. And on higher loops, you also cannot attack Enigma at all. Because if I were to try attacking Enigma here, the barrier spread shots would actually turn around and fire back at me. So, yeah, I'm basically just going to be sitting here and waiting for this boss to time out. And it does take a while, but I figured it would be better for me to try doing it this way in the marathon than attempt fighting it head on and die, and then basically it comes up to whether or not the game will let me get past the elevator section within enough lives to have a shot at getting through. So, yeah, you just kind of sit here and wait. This is a good strategy to use on higher loops. At some point, it basically just becomes mandatory. By the way, I'm sorry that I've gone a little bit overestimate. I might have, I think I was a little bit optimistic about how long this would take, but we shouldn't be going more than like 10 or so minutes over. Depends on how the last portion of this run goes. And there we go. So yeah, if you're uncomfortable fighting Enigma, use that safe spot. Just make sure you don't attack it. So at this point, it all basically comes down to whether or not I get past this checkpoint. Because this is really all that's left. I also have a higher speed than I'm used to here, so it might cause some problems. First try. And like I said, once you get to this point, you're basically in the clear. Because again, the pattern on these things changes again, but again, they never touch the bottom of the screen, so you're just safe as long as you stay here. And the duckers never fire suicide bullets. I'm actually amazed that I managed to get through these two stages without anything bad happening. Or this stage and the previous stage specifically. That was far cleaner than I expected. Alright, time for the final boss one final time. Okay, so I'll stop the timer when the game finishes fading to black. Okay. There we go. And time. Alright, and now we're gonna watch this ending cutscene. No way! Dr. Venom is a bad guy! So, here's the context. So, Dr. Venom, from what I understand, Dr. Venom and James Burton are a species known as Reekian, and apparently the Gradius government under Emperor Lars the 17th adopted this anti-Reekian policy that made Venom get really angry. So him and 10 fellow officers attempted to assassinate Lars the 17th, and this is basically when he gets caught. And he gets exiled to the prisoner planet known as Sard, where he eventually forms an alliance with the Bacterian, becomes mutated, and becomes basically the main antagonist of the MSX games. This is basically the prelude to those games and their storyline. Yeah, there you go. That's Gradius Rebirth. That's a 3-loop clear of Gradius Rebirth. Can't say I was expecting it to go that smoothly. Aside from 3-3, that was 3-4 and 3-5. I cannot believe I got past those stages without dying. I've never been able to do that before. There you go. That's Gradius Rebirth. Thanks again, RGLtv, for having me, letting me show this game off. You will definitely be seeing more Gradius from me in the future. Also, I just want to point out, this game does have the score attack mode. It used to have online rankings, but since the Wii Wi-Fi services were shut down several years ago, you can no longer access those leaderboards. You can still do your own score attack mode and save your own replays, but yeah. So if you have this game and you want to do some score attack, that's a very nice way to do it. And again, it saves your replays, so you can play them back whenever. And there you go. So yeah, thanks for watching, and enjoy the final run of the marathon.
Hey RGL fans, Ant-Hole here. Just wanted to pop in real quick and say thank you all for the amazing support. We're almost at $1,500. A little shy of the goal, but that's alright. Every dollar helps to feed hungry children around the world, supporting families. I wanted to give a quick shout out to RSTGD, $5, saying let's go Vonnie. I think we already read that one. Sorry about that. ACDC Rock 79, $5, says put me in coach for the Switch, but even more so for the kids. Absolutely, $5 or more gets you entered into a raffle for multiple prizes, but our grand prize raffle of a Nintendo Switch, merch, and more. Barbara said donated $5, no message, but thank you very much. I'm not going to read your whole name. But Ms. donated $29 with the message, Gradius luck donation. Thank you, Ms. You're incredibly generous, bud. Very happy for you. Vincent TV 85, $10 with the message, apparently missed this whole thing. Big Sag. Keep up the great work for a great cause. Thank you very much. We'll have it back up on YouTube. You can watch it all. Our YouTube is linked, or I think you could type in !YouTube. Stick around. We got Lyra coming up with Chrono Trigger, our last run. Sad, but we can still donate. Get those in. We'll be right back.